good afternoon, or excuse me, good morning to our audience joining us on WFLA.com, the WFLA app, and on the WFLA YouTube page. Keeping an eye on the WFLA YouTube live comment section. This is JB here with you in the Stream Center. We are live here on the right side of your screen. That is a zoomed in shot at the, of course, inside the courtroom in New Hampshire, where the jury is actively deliberating right now in the Adam Montgomery murder trial. Adam Montgomery accused of murdering his 5-year-old daughter, Harmony Montgomery, in a case that we covered extensively on live stream years ago. The murder is said to have occurred in 2019, and here we are now in February of 2024 as the jury is deliberating and seeking a unanimous verdict of the set of charges. And we're going to go over the charges here in a little bit. Again, for those of you just joining us, this is JB in the Stream Center, live across multiple platforms. You can see that we have a poll question here on the left side of your screen. We're asking our audience if they think that the jury will be finding Adam Montgomery guilty of murder. The murder charge, of course, the most serious of the 5 charges. And whether or not the jury has what they believe that they need based on what was presented over the course of the trial, what they need to reach a unanimous verdict on the murder charge, that remains to be seen. Other charges, the lesser charges, likely more clear-cut. However, the murder charge is likely to be the charge that the jury is going to be spending, you would imagine, a lot of time discussing as to whether or not they feel like they have ample evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Adam Montgomery murdered his 5-year-old daughter, Harmony. You can find the poll on www.heyjb.live. Upon voting in the poll, you have the option to enter your name or your username, and that will, of course, scroll on the bottom of your screen. So Robbie, Luna, Charlie K16, Nat B, Navy Vet, Kate R, Princess April, so many others joining us. Appreciate the votes. We'll be going over the vote totals and vote results when we go live here with our live stream in a little bit. But again, on the right side of your screen, even though it appears to be a still image of a zoomed in shot of the top of a flagpole, that is a live signal coming from New Hampshire, from inside the courtroom, the pool camera feed. And if we see any action on that shot, we will go to it full screen and listen in to the verdict or any update, such as the judge declaring that they'll be breaking for lunch, or if there's any follow-up questions that come from the jury deliberation room. Any action from the courtroom itself will go full screen, and we will listen in. I have the volume at normal levels, so if any courtroom audio gets routed in, you'll be able to hear it here on the live stream, and we'll, of course, be paying close attention to this feed from New Hampshire here in the Stream Center. Again, you can go to www.heyjb.live to vote. I'll be live with you guys momentarily here across multiple platforms. Good morning to you, folks. JB here with you live on WFLA Now from the Stream Center in Tampa, Florida. Saying hello to our audience joining us on WFLA.com, on WFLA's app, and a special hello to those of you joining us on the WFLA YouTube page. Reading comments right now coming in from Invisiblue, Tina, Barbara, Sheila, and many others. Good morning wherever you are watching from. In fact, if you'd like, you can let us know where you're watching from in the comments section. We are, of course, running an interactive poll as we get ready for coverage of what we expect, of course, to be or what might amount to be a Adam Montgomery verdict out of New Hampshire in the coming hours. We'll be streaming this over the course of the day here on WFLA Now. You can go to www.heyjb.live to cast your vote. And then, of course, you have the option to enter your name if you'd like to have your name scroll across the bottom of our screen in the interactive poll voters section. We'll be live here momentarily with an update on this story. And, of course, we'll be live here from the Stream Center out of Tampa, Florida. Hello to our entire audience. We'll be live here momentarily. Hello, folks. JB here with you live on WFLA Now. The courtroom camera shot has zoomed out to show some of the action inside the courtroom. Want to let you know that we do have the audio up full, as it would appear the attorneys here on both sides, the state and the defense, having a bit of an informal conversation. We have not been given any alert here in the Stream Center as to an impending verdict or an imminent verdict. However, when a pool camera feed zooms out, it's usually in preparation for some courtroom activity. So you can see the room is still mostly empty, but the fact that we have some action here, look, it could mean something. It could mean absolutely nothing. And with that, we say good morning. Good morning, folks. JB here with you in the Stream Center, and we are streaming a shot here from New Hampshire, a New Hampshire courtroom. Again, audio's up full blast. If any audio comes through, of course, I'm going to mute my microphone. We go full screen. We listen in to what's going on. But it appears that there is some courtroom activity. Again, as we await the verdict in the Adam Montgomery murder trial. This is the trial of the man accused of murdering his 5-year-old daughter, Harmony Montgomery. It's a story that we covered extensively on stream years ago when 5-year-old Harmony Montgomery was missing, and authorities out of the northeastern United States were asking for help in locating Harmony. But what was peculiar about Harmony's disappearance was that the last time that she was seen was 2 years prior in 2019. That led to a mad scramble to try to find out exactly where she was last seen, who she was last seen with, and who could be responsible for her disappearance. And really, over the course of the days and weeks in the aftermath of Harmony Montgomery being reported missing, it became clear that Adam Montgomery, the father who was in custody of Harmony at the time, was likely involved in some capacity, as it would later be determined. We now have, of course, this murder trial, and Adam Montgomery is facing several charges, but 2 charges are going to be uncontested. And those 2 charges relate to abuse of a corpse, and I'll get the exact charges listed here. I want to make sure that I am speaking accurately. Yeah, Montgomery's attorneys, this is from NBC Boston. Montgomery's attorneys have acknowledged that he is guilty on 2 of the lesser charges, one of them being that he purposely and unlawfully removed, concealed, or destroyed her corpse and falsified physical evidence. And as we found out over the course of this trial from the prosecution, and of course through the testimony that would come out from Kayla Montgomery, his estranged wife, from friends and family members of Adam Montgomery as well, that we found out that little Harmony Montgomery had a brutal life, a life of pain and torment, where even accidentally wetting her pants, accidentally going to the bathroom when she wasn't supposed to, led to excruciating punishment. And it's just a story that that has received reaction from across the country, from around the world, as to how somebody could do something like this to their daughter. Now, the jury started deliberating yesterday afternoon. They're continuing into this morning. We might get an update here around noon just to find out as to whether or not they're going to break for lunch and where things stand, if there's any questions that are coming out of the deliberation room. But that might be the reason why we have some activity here, because we're coming up at noon, and it's usually standard operating procedure at around noon that the jury will be, either provided lunch or let go for lunch. We have some courtroom activity. Let's listen in. the pool camera feed zooming in. Adam Montgomery not present in court. Courtroom audio has now been muted again. Adam Montgomery has not appeared in this trial. So the empty chair is nothing new here from New Hampshire. As to whether or not he would show up to hear the verdict read from the jury, that, of course, remains to be seen. Whether or not they would alert him that a verdict has been reached, we do not know. Adam Montgomery had, as you would imagine, the opportunity to take the stand in his own defense, to give his version of events. However, Adam Montgomery has not yet appeared in this trial. Again, listening for any courtroom audio as we come across the noon hour, as we approach the noon Eastern hour here from New Hampshire. As you can see, attorneys for the state, attorneys for the defense now taking a seat. The judge in the top left-hand portion of your screen, present in the courtroom. We do not know if this is for a small update related to lunch or if there is some outcome in the jury deliberation room. We're listening in and preparing for whatever is the update here at the noon hour here, noon Eastern in New Hampshire. Time now 11:53 a.m.
counsel.
As is standing operating procedure for the pool camera feed will mute all microphones, or it just microphones are muted whenever counsel is called up by the judge. So a conversation taking place here, as again, they zoom in on the seat where normally you would have the defendant seated, but Adam Montgomery making the decision to not appear at his own murder trial. But he's not at the Ritz-Carlton, folks. He's currently locked up on a 30-year prison sentence for an unrelated gun conviction. He has not attended a single moment of this trial. Now, according to NBC Boston, he did say in court last year in an unrelated case that did not have anything to do with Harmony, as we understand it, that he did say that he loved Harmony unconditionally and did not kill her. He has pled, again, not guilty to the murder charge. However, two lesser charges: purposefully and unlawfully removing, concealing, or destroying a corpse, falsifying physical evidence. He has acknowledged his guilt. His representation in court has acknowledged guilt on those charges. It's not disputed. Expect audio to come back up here momentarily. And with the judge leaving the courtroom, that's pretty clear that we do not have a verdict at this time. And you can see the attorneys here speaking to those in the back of the courtroom, and likely some media members here as well that will be tweeting exactly what that exchange was about and whether or not this is just as simple as something as lunch. Jurors got to eat. We've seen it in so many different court cases. When the jury breaks to eat, everyone just kind of exhales and says, okay. Verdict watch takes a momentary pause as we zoom in here on members of the defense. And again, JB here with you live in the Stream Center, folks. We are, of course, streaming the courtroom feed from New Hampshire today from the Stream Center. And we'll be paying close attention to, of course, how long it will take for the jury to reach a verdict. Okay. And then there you hit the preset button, and now we're zoomed back in on the top of the flagpole. Moving some things around. All right. Harmony Montgomery, 5 years old. Didn't get much of a chance. Murdered, as we have been told over the course of this story, killed, even though, as we understand it as well, her body has never been found. And that's something, of course, that's extremely troubling. Crystal Sorey, her mother, there you see there on her screen in an interview from, I think, 2021 with News Nation's Brian Enton. There you can see some of the activity at the time. This is some of our archive video here from the Stream Center. There's Adam Montgomery, one of his several mugshots. Harmony, such a cute girl who, it was, again, just such shock. We are so used to, in the media, getting missing persons alerts, missing children alerts, Amber alerts. We had an Amber alert this week for an 8-month-old in Florida. It happens quite a bit. Amber alerts, missing children alerts. But you can see there on the missing poster, it said last seen in October 2019. When we were reporting on that mid 2021, we were flabbergasted by how a little girl could be missing and not seen since nearly 2 years prior. And that leads us, of course, we've almost fast forwarded in time. You can see there, Crystal, with the hashtag bring Harmony home. You can see the billboard there, missing person for Harmony Montgomery. Fast forward in time, Adam Montgomery is facing now the possibility of being convicted in her murder. Now, the jury has been deliberating for some time. And as I've been, of course, digging through Gabby Petito depositions over the last week, I have been playing a little bit of catch up with the Harmony Montgomery, the Adam Montgomery trial out of New Hampshire. And it's my general understanding that while some of these charges are a slam dunk, the murder charge proving that Adam Montgomery is directly responsible for Harmony Montgomery's murder, for murdering his daughter, the evidence isn't as slam dunk as it is with some of the other charges. Otherwise, we would have perhaps had a verdict yesterday, proving that Adam is directly responsible for the murder of his daughter is likely, you would imagine, what is taking place, the conversations that are taking place in the jury deliberation room, because that is the most serious of the charges. But it's been stated in court that Adam Montgomery disposed of Harmony's body, her 5-year-old corpse, and really in just it's the manner in which her remains were disposed of is just disturbing. Investigators believe that Harmony was murdered back in December of 2019. Kayla Montgomery being the estranged wife of Adam, testifying that her body was hidden in the trunk of a car, then moved to a cooler, then moved to a ceiling vent, and then moved to a workplace freezer before Adam ultimately decided to dispose of it. Now, the defense is arguing, and I'm just going through the notes here and some of the work from NBC Boston. Defense attorney Caroline Smith, who you saw there with the short blonde hair, said that Montgomery moved the body and hid it because of a very misguided belief that he had to do so to keep his family from being ripped apart. That, as far as him disposing of Harmony's remains and doing so in such a heinous fashion, that's basically, in essence, in summary, what defense attorney Caroline Smith is arguing to the jury. Again, those charges are in large part uncontested. Those two charges, the ones of abuse of a corpse and falsifying physical evidence. That brings us to our poll. Do you think that the jury will find Adam Montgomery guilty of murdering his daughter, Harmony? Yes or no? You can vote in this poll at www.heyjb.live. It's an interactive poll. It's part of our new interactive suite of tools that we're going to be using on stream from the Stream Center to be able to interact with you in completely new ways over the course of the coming months, taking interactive live streaming to a place that news stations really haven't taken it before, and we're really excited to be able to do things such as live polling, live interactions, and other things that were yet to debut from the Stream Center, but a means for us to be able to give you a voice in ways that are brand new and pretty technologically advanced. So we're really excited about how we can engage with our audience in new ways, and we're debuting it this week. So again, you can go to www.heyjb.live to vote, and you can also have your comment scroll across the bottom of the screen. Let's focus on YouTube Live. YouTube Live. We're going to start to take your comments, your questions. You can use hashtag HeyJB on YouTube Live to engage with us. And in fact, what I'm going to do is just bring up those comments now. So if you use hashtag HeyJB, I can animate your comment on screen. Cassie, hashtag HeyJB, does he have to be in court when the verdict is read? No. No, to my understanding, he does not. He doesn't have to be there. Like, if I am wrong on that, again, me being in Florida, this being in New Hampshire, different jurisdictions, but to my understanding, he doesn't have to be there when the verdict is read. Marlena, if Adam was allegedly innocent like his attorney says, why wasn't he in court defending himself then? Mind-blowing. He should have been made to be there, in my opinion. Well, again, like I said earlier, he's not at the Ritz. He's in lockup. But interesting, though, that, to just stare at the same four walls in your prison cell rather than be in court and hear the evidence being presented against you, it does say something. It says something about the defendant. What exactly that says, I think it depends on the defendant in particular, but the fact that he is choosing to remain in prison rather than attend his own trial with a serious criminal offense, murdering your daughter is the accusation. I think that speaks volumes. XO Smith, hey JB, will they say if Kayla is charged too? No, this is not a Kayla Montgomery trial. Kayla Montgomery, by the way, is also that's Adam's estranged wife, is also serving a sentence at the moment, and I'll see if I can find that in my notes. 18-month prison sentence after pleading guilty to perjury for lying during grand jury testimony about where she was when Harmony was last seen. She basically just hasn't been honest. Kayla gave significant testimony. Let's talk about Kayla for a second. She gave significant testimony that Adam, who's on trial, repeatedly punched Harmony in the head because the girl had wet herself. Getting this from NBC Boston. She said that her family, including the couple's two young sons, had been evicted and that they were living in a car. And according to Kayla, Adam punched Harmony at several stoplights as they drove from a methadone clinic to a fast food restaurant on the morning of December 7th, 2019. If I remember from listening to some of the testimony in court, I believe it was a Burger King. She also testified about handing food to the children without checking in on Harmony. The subsequent discovery that Harmony was dead. And the places her husband hid the body, including in a ceiling vent at a homeless shelter and the walk-in freezer at his workplace. Bring up the live court feed. It has to be stated repeatedly. We still don't know where Harmony is. Crystal Sorey is Harmony's mother, who, of course, lost custody, as we've talked about on stream previously, lost custody of Harmony. Custody was awarded to Adam, the father. And you would imagine, of course, that Crystal wants to know where Harmony is, where her remains were left. And it's been a massive source of frustration that Adam, even though he is not denying the fact that he disposed of those remains, that he moved them from the cooler to the ceiling vent and to all of this variety of places, he will not give up what he did with Harmony's remains. Uh, yeah, it's just absolutely heartbreaking. So Kayla is already been charged in this case for not being honest with investigators. And she has, of course, been part of this case with her testimony. Let's refresh the comments and see what people are saying. Bo Fauna, hey JB, do you think this will help bring about any legislative change to help other kids in similar situations from ever facing something awful like this from happening again? The system failed her so bad. You would hope so. You would hope. There are organizations, politicians trying to, of course, always trying to make improvements to the system. How the system can fail miserably enough that she could be gone for 2 years and no one know it. Now, look, optics are significant in this case in the fact that it was the pandemic and life wasn't normal in 2020. Now, all of, she went missing in 2019. She was last seen in 2019, but then the pandemic hits 2020. I'm not making any excuses. Don't get me wrong. There needs to be a way for us to find out that a child hasn't been seen in a couple of years, and in a potentially dangerous situation. But the pandemic created complications that were just not very. Still, it's hard to quantify just how complicated the pandemic made things for law enforcement to this day. Let's see. Yeah, man, the outage. Everyone's phones working. The AT&T outage. I think it's Verizon also. No, Rebecca, what do you got? You're good? I haven't had any problems with Verizon this morning. But yeah, a lot of people are saying, hey, I'm just logging on now. The outage was affected my phone. Yeah, no, that is the number one story of the day. It's crazy. We've gotten to a point now as a society where you lose cell phone connection, the world goes crazy. Everyone loses their minds over cellular connection being lost. We have numbers here at news stations that show us what stories people are clicking on at any particular time. It's analytics. It shows us what you are interested in as a news consumer. And nothing can top the fact that there is this cellular outage that's been reported this morning. Oh, a quick follow-up note, because we talked about this on stream last night. Obviously, we broke the Gabby Petito news of the settlement. And a lot of moving parts there. But I had said on stream yesterday, this is just kind of a housekeeping item, so I know this isn't related to Adam Montgomery or Harmony Montgomery, but please just allow me to pass this info along. I had mentioned on stream last night that we were going to be interviewing attorney Pat Riley for Gabby Petito's family was going to be interviewing or be interviewed by us today. After talking to him this morning, they actually made the collective determination that they're not doing any interviews at this time, given I have heard that yesterday was quite taxing on multiple parties. So that interview is not going to be taking place. It could happen in the future. Of course, we will never get details on the deal that was struck between the Laundries and Gabby Petito's family. That is a confidential resolution. However, There are still a lot of questions to be answered in relation to just how everything is wrapped up now between these two families. And I was hoping to ask those questions on stream today, but they have decided that they're going to push off any interview opportunities until a later date. Let's see here. I need to. Opportunity for our audience to give me a little bit of insight. And I think I found my answer, actually. Well, let me pose this question to our audience. Let me turn off Hey JB for just a second. Who is a reporter that people have been following in this case? Who's the most trustworthy reporter? Because usually when we are talking about court cases, it's really beneficial to be following a certain reporter in the room. Shout out to Alex Capriello, who's usually a great live tweeting journalist when it comes to court cases. And some are just exceptional at it, and they are in court and they're able to live tweet along. Any reporters in particular that are there, that are following this? Is it Tim over at WMUR? Tim Calorie? Let's grab this. Here's Tim's tweet. Tim says, update, judge has provided the question, how does the court define consciously disregarded? Hashtag Adam Montgomery. And then Tim followed up here. Oh, wait, that's the same tweet. No, update. Yeah, Judge, how does the court define consciously disregard? Oh, here it is. I'm sorry. Tim, answer. Jury has been given the legal definition of the mental state recklessly. You must use the definition provided. You should use your common sense and judgment and consider the ordinary usage of the terms within the definition. This is coming from Tim Calorie, reporter for WMUR. And so this is very helpful, but also as a reminder just how technical sometimes jury deliberations can get because of specific terms. And so what Tim is saying is that there has been a question from the jury specifically as to defining consciously disregarded. You know, one of our commenters saying, isn't that obvious? You know, I'm not. I don't know. Here's the thing. It could be obvious to a majority of the jury, and then one juror could say, I'm just not so sure about this definition, and I want clarity. And if that question then can get posed, more times than not, no one's going to say, no, you can't ask a question. Fauna wants to know, in your experience, how long were you expecting the jury to deliberate based on similar cases in the past? Has it been longer? This jury deliberations are this question is almost impossible to answer. So many juries, actually, I'm not entirely sure. I was hoping to look this up this morning. because I was doing a lot of homework to be at least as prepared as I could be, given we're coming right off the back end of Petito coverage and right into this one. But I'm trying to figure out exactly how many jurors there are, how many members exist on the jury. And I don't see that in my notes. But to the question, Fauna saying that how long look, first and foremost, the more jurors that are in the room, the more difficult it is to reach a unanimous decision more oftentimes than not. More questions get posed, more voices need to be heard. It's just it's just the more people in the room, the more the lengthier the process tends to become. But every case is so unique. Also, too, the number of charges is absolutely significant. I believe there are 5 charges in this case. And see if I can bring up the list of charges. And that because you have to go through each charge individually. So if you have somebody facing 7 charges, that's going to take a long time versus 1 or 2. Adam Montgomery faces charges of second-degree murder, second-degree assault, witness tampering, abuse of a corpse, and falsifying physical evidence. Now, the second-degree murder charge is, again, the accusation is that Adam Montgomery beat his daughter to death, 5-year-old Harmony to death. So there is assault, witness tampering, abuse of a corpse, falsifying physical evidence, but really the main charge is murder. Now, when the jury does, if they do reach a verdict unanimously and they're able to come back to the courtroom for that verdict, second-degree murder is the charge to really pay attention to. Let's see here. Actually, you know what? We got to be ready we're preparing our live stream for multiple platforms as well. I'm just working with our team here to make sure that we are good to go. And then I'll go back to answering some questions. There it is. Okay. So let's go back to Hey JB questions. Team Brittany, one of our moderators, say I saw the judge pick 5 alternates. I think that there were 12 before that. Okay, that's helpful to know. Amanda, I hope they find him guilty. He strikes me as reckless and careless. Any normal parent would be frantic to find their child. Just to kind of eliminate, reporter talk for a second. It's going to be hard to find anybody who would say anything other than Adam Montgomery is a bad dude. I mean, again, we're talking about somebody who is being accused of taking the corpse of his daughter and moving it from a ceiling to a chronologically, again, but concealing the corpse in a ceiling, in a workplace freezer, in a refrigerator as well, in a duffel bag, or was it a cooler? I mean, that is not you have to be a bad dude to be capable of something like that with your own daughter, with anybody. We're talking about this person being accused of murdering his own daughter and then just moving his corpse from place to place like it was a piece of luggage. I'm going to pay attention to Tim. Tim seems to have a pretty good grasp on this story, so shout out to Tim Callery over at WMUR. If anybody else wants me to pay attention to any other reporters that have really been on this case, please. I really do enjoy being able to especially spotlight local journalists. Local journalists oftentimes are really on the heartbeat of a story and really know the ins and outs of it. As being somebody who works at a local television station, I understand that, because it's so oftentimes you'll have, with a big case like this, you'll have the national media come in and then just kind of cover it for a week, when in reality it's a story that's been going on for many, many months, maybe even years, and the local journalists who really know the story best get overshadowed by the national media coming into town. But really, so if there's any, if we can spotlight local journalists, local reporters who work their tail off on stories, especially when those stories ultimately reach a major point like a verdict, it's a good opportunity for us to just shout out local reporters out there. True Crime Beat says they will never find Harmony's remains, sadly. Jana says, I believe everything Kayla Montgomery says. Yes, she did nothing, but she was afraid to engage. Did you see her face? Don't forget about all the testimony from the other witnesses. Yeah, that's true. Travis Beach, Kevin Montgomery, who's actually down here in Florida, Kayla Montgomery. This is key testimony over the course of this case. And, Kayla communicating that she was afraid by what Adam was capable of, certainly speaks volumes. Now, Kayla's involvement in this is something that can't be ignored as well, when she was present for a lot of the abuse that Harmony experienced. However, ultimately, this is all about trying to catch a murderer and trying to convict a murderer and send a murderer to prison. And so if the person who's responsible for murdering Harmony Montgomery, who deserves justice, if that person is her father, Adam Montgomery, then that takes top billing when it comes to what justice for Harmony Montgomery looks like. Maria, do you think the jury might not be able to decide of his guilt? Look, I'm not sure. I mean, look, that's only a question really that the jury can answer, Maria. I'm not in that room. So Alana says, hey, JB, I think the prosecution should have waited until the body was found to prosecute him. But to the previous point, somebody who had just said, somebody who said, Harmony Montgomery's remains may never be found. So we are so used to talking about murder cases, and two of the most fundamental things that you need to prosecute in a murder trial: body, weapon. Now, based on our understanding of this case, there is no murder weapon. This is apparently done at quite literally the hands of Adam Montgomery, beating his daughter to death. That is the accusation that has been put forth in court. However, the remains, only Adam Montgomery knows. And I'll tell you this: if we haven't received information from Adam now as to where Harmony is located, if there hasn't been that moment where Adam has decided to, where his conscience, if you will, has kicked in to say and communicate, yes, this is what happened to Harmony, This is where she is. If it hasn't happened by now, this is just. I really have a hard time believing it's going to just magically happen anytime soon. Not to mention that uncovering Harmony's remains could be damning for Adam Montgomery. Even more damning than what he's currently facing. So, and there's been search efforts. They've looked, they've combed through areas trying to find. I remember they were in the backyard of the home. They were looking everywhere, trying to find any signs of where her remains could have been buried or disposed of, and they've been unsuccessful in locating her remains. Maria is very confident that there will be a guilty verdict. Okay, so Aqua says, I think Adam may wait for the verdict, then try to make a deal with regards to the sentence by revealing where her remains are. On the other hand, by keeping her hidden, he's safer in prison. So the deal, I'm trying to imagine what a deal looks like. He's already serving a 30-year prison sentence for an unrelated gun charge. He is now basically surrendering on 2 lesser charges of disposing of a corpse and falsifying physical evidence. Not to mention that he now has looming charges potentially of second-degree murder, second-degree assault, and witness tampering. Adam Montgomery is going to get very used to looking out from behind bars for the rest of his life. What does a deal look like? Okay, a deal, could there be an agreement where Adam discloses Harmony's remains in exchange for transfer to a prison that has better conditions or fewer restrictions? Because if Adam is looking at spending the rest of his life in prison, not to mention having the reputation in prison of being somebody who murdered a 5-year-old, he might be looking to make the best out of what life he has left. So a transfer to a facility that isn't as, that might afford him some, who knows what he would be looking for, but fewer restrictions and just overall better quality of prison life. Maybe, but then again, is that even on the table? You would, you know what? Maybe that's a good poll question. It's I have the pretend sound effect, right? We play, sometimes we go down the rabbit hole of hypotheticals, right? Pretend. I use that sound effect to make it clear that we are going down a bit of a rabbit hole, as we do sometimes on stream. I don't like to do it too often, but sometimes we do. But I'm just going to put, you know what? Maybe we can put it in, we'll put it on heyjb.live. We'll do that. Let's build this poll out. If Adam Montgomery was willing to disclose the location of Harmony, should he be offered? Wow. I run out of characters. Okay. I have to get rid of Montgomery. If Adam was willing to disclose the location of Harmony, should he be offered a deal? Yes and no. Sure. So now that we've activated this poll, I'm really curious. See what people have to say. If it brings some peace and closure to Harmony's family, it's not as if a deal would get him out. He's already serving a 30-year sentence. But if the deal included maybe, let's say, the hypothetical of a transfer to a less strict facility with better conditions, and he were to point out exactly what he did with Harmony's remains and show investigators what happened, we're going to activate this poll. But before we do that, we got to clear this comment. Hold on, moving a lot of parts here. And clear this comment. I want to come back to the original poll, because the original poll, by the way, is so laughably one-sided. Let's reveal the results of the original poll that people have been voting on for the last hour plus. And that is, do you think the jury will find Adam Montgomery guilty of murdering his daughter, Harmony? 98% say yes. So this poll was almost, I mean, look, it tells us a story, but people are extremely confident that the jury is going to come back with a guilty verdict on the second-degree murder charge. Let's move on now to the next poll. If Adam was willing to disclose the location of Harmony, should he be offered a deal? Yes or no? It's just, we're going to keep that as straightforward as possible. All right, so how do you vote in this poll? You go to heyjb.live, and you'll see the poll populate on your screen. And again, this is an informal social media poll just to see how everybody's feeling out there in regards to this concept that has been put forth, because there seems to be a tremendous amount of interest for people online to say, wow, we really want Harmony's remains to be found, but should a deal be offered? Would a deal be offered in exchange? How would that sit with you, is what we are asking. Now, again, the deal doesn't have to be, all right, you're out free. You're a free man again, Adam. You can roam the streets and get back to your whatever your life was before all this. No. He's staring out for decades. This man is going to be behind bars. But would the deal perhaps give him some small concessions when it comes to the quality of his life in prison? We'll let people find that poll, and we will also try to bring up. There's a VIP comment section there. If people really want their comment to make it up on screen, this is all brand new, by the way, this week here in the Stream Center. We have some new technology that we've been debuting this week. If you want your comment to immediately populate on my screen and actually get my attention, there is now a way now, when you vote in this poll, there's a section where you can submit a VIP comment. And so with that, we'll try to bring in some VIP comments. Where are they? Here they are. Okay. Wow. Hold on, they're coming in really fast. Exo Smith says it's been over 4 years. He doesn't deserve this option at this point. Jennifer says, I can't believe it's taking the jury this long. Mora says, Harmony deserves to be laid to rest properly. Carrie says, his quality of life in prison. What about Harmony's quality of life? This is an excellent question. Again, Harmony has to be remembered here. Nothing will bring Harmony back, but if it meant some peace and closure, some desperately sought peace and closure for Harmony's family, does that mean something? Does that carry value for you? Does that mean something to you? Fusion says, hello, no, to a deal. Colleen says, no deal. Wow. I can't even click on the comment that I'm trying to get to because they're coming in so fast. Smith, 33, absolutely not. Life in prison. He is a monster. Right, but you could, But hold on though. Hold on though. And I'm not advocating for one thing or the other. But if the scenario were presented where he could get a deal to have uh, certain things provided for him, not even provided, that's a terrible way to phrase this. But if he could, let's say, under this hypothetical, again, playing pretend, he gets transferred to a facility of maybe that he prefers, but maybe he has to spend the rest of his life in prison. And he points to the exact spot. He shows investigators exactly what he did with Harmony's remains, and Harmony's remains, whatever's left of them, are recovered. How does that sit with you? Yeah, I'd be very curious to see these results when they come in. Again, to vote in the poll, you go to heyjb.live. There's by the way, I have to state this. I'm sorry, and I've been doing this for the last 24 hours. There's no gotcha moment with going to that poll. I stake my reputation on it. There's no tracking or anything. We're not asking you to sign up with an email address. There's no paywall. There's no we'll send you breaking news alerts. Give us your email or put in your credit card here. None of that. We just value your opinion. So all it is a simple one-tap poll at that URL, and it gives you the option. It's purely optional to submit a comment here like Smith33. That's it. That's all it is. And if anybody has any different experience with this new tool that we're debuting to be able to just make sure that we have a universal place for polling and comments, please let me know, because this is something that we are trying to do with interactive journalism to connect in new ways with our audience. So Danelle is answering very specifically. Only the chance to save his life, not to get transferred to a minimum security facility. He does not deserve that. Okay, see, this is a valuable opinion here because you're answering the question specifically. Danelle is saying he doesn't deserve that arrangement, that hypothetical deal. I have a hard time believing that any deal would shave any years off of a prison sentence. That to me seems like that how you present that to the public is given that he's already serving 30 years. Kelly George says no deal. Jenna says Adam is already in the prison where he will spend the rest of his life. 0 places he can be transferred inside New Hampshire. Right, but what if, I mean, and again, I've never been a reporter in New Hampshire, so I'm unfamiliar with the New Hampshire prison system. But again, if Adam said, I want this, even from inside my own prison cell or my own prison facility, I want to be transferred to this wing, or I want this to be part of my schedule over the course of the day, or if he was seeking any, special treatment, that special treatment is a label that's not going to sit well when you're talking about somebody who's accused of murdering their 5-year-old daughter. I understand that, but again, it's the purpose of the exercise is just to gain a better understanding as to if people were in the position to find out what this suspected murderer did with the remains of his 5-year-old daughter. What's it worth to you? What is that information worth to you? A few more comments, and then we'll look at the results of the poll. But we're trying to get more votes in the poll, because the more results that we have in the poll, the more votes that we have, the better understanding that we have of how the public at large feels, or at least our news audience feels about this particular question. Lily Lou, I truly don't believe that anything is left of Harmony. I think her body, her remains were obliterated. Unfortunately, so no deal. That's a whole other thing. This is all this exercise is all under the assumption that there is something left, something meaningful for the family. And given that it is 5 years later, 5 years, I mean, to find anything, you really don't know. BJC, as a parent, I would like to lay my child to rest, even if there was something small, anything. Mm. Beck is saying the family should decide. Gloria says he deserves the worst conditions only. Wow. Okay. Scroll. They're coming in fast. I would like to know how the family feels about a deal. Yeah. Again, this is all purely a hypothetical, strict hypothetical. But let's look at the results of the poll and see how everybody feels out there. And click this. There it is. You know, I was based on the comments, I was expecting more votes for no. I was, but less than 2/3 say no. So 63% of our audience say that Adam Montgomery should not be offered a deal, basically under in any scenario. 37% in our unscientific social media poll based on you, our news audience who's watching live, 37% say, yeah, offer the deal, find out what happened to Harmony, find out if her remains can be recovered and bring some closure if it would amount to closure for Harmony's family. Okay. Well, I appreciate everybody participating in the exercise. As we look here again at the top of the flagpole, which again, for those of you just joining, this is a live feed from inside the courtroom, and this is the standard shot for when there is no courtroom activity. So how do we feel about impromptu polls like this? Feedback is helpful. We could stick to and this is for this live stream, future live streams, thumbs up or thumbs down emoji. Should we stick to more official questions to our audience when it comes to interactive polls like this? Or do you like the impromptu hypothetical poll? Thumbs up, thumbs down. How does everybody feel out there? I genuinely care about what you have to say, and I mean that. That's literally, it's my life's work is to advance interactive journalism and to try to close the gap between the content creators, news journalists like myself, and people watching wherever you're watching from. So we can't create progress in an experimental space like interactive journalism without getting feedback from you. So feedback does mean a lot. Liz says YouTube polls are easier, and I get that, but we have audience. We have viewers that join us from places outside of YouTube Live. It's not just YouTube Live. So it's been a thorn on our side for a long time that we would run a poll in one place and another place, and then you're talking about a mixed bag of results because the audience here might say one thing, the audience there might say another. So we needed one single unified place for our polls and for our VIP comments, and it lives now on www.heyjb.live. You can still submit those comments now, by the way. People are asking, "Where's the poll? Where's the poll?" It's there on the website, but again, as a reminder, we're not. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. So in YouTube, with YouTube especially, let's just talk about YouTube for a second. YouTubers, streamers on YouTube, what they will do with interactivity is they will do something called super chats, where people can pay to have their comment prioritized. So spend $5. All right, a live streamer that you love and you want to support, that $5 heads their way, and then your comment gets emphasized on stream. I work for a news station as part of a much larger news organization, a broadcast company. We can't do super chats. It's just within the realm of journalism ethics, paying to have your opinion prioritized is just doesn't fall within the scope of what we do when it comes to your opinion being part of the news conversation. We just can't do it. Can you imagine how dicey and messy it would get with politics if we did a political conversation and somebody could pay a news station to have their comment guaranteed or prioritized on screen? We are talking about basically shoving our credibility down the toilet. It's just into the trash. It's just not something that we can do. So what we can do is just give you a unified place to interact with us, and that's what we are experimenting with www.heyjb.live. So your hard-earned dollars, you can put them in the gas tank, okay? Try to save up to buy a house or save up for that cruise that you've wanted to take in. We're not here to take super chat money. But if you want to support interactive journalism and help us keep the lights on here in the Stream Center and help us prove that interactive journalism is a viable format going forward for a news organization as large as WFLA and our parent company, go to heyjb.live, submit a comment. You can even just say thumbs up, and you will see that it is completely free and no paywall or no sign up required. Just literally the tap of a finger, and you can vote in a poll like this one. All right, so that's enough with the polls. We just opened up the VIP comment feature on www.heyjb.live. So let me just explain how that works here for a second from the Stream Center. So I have this screen here to my left, and if you submit a comment on YouTube, it gets put into this massive list of comments that either I happen to be looking there at the time and I see your comment and I can click on it to bring it up on screen, or they're coming in so fast on YouTube that I lose it and that's it. It's faded away into history. But if you go to www.heyjb.live and you submit a comment there, it sticks and it's highlighted and it's emphasized here on the screen, and I can grab it way more efficiently, and it doesn't just fade away into non-existence. It sticks. So if people who are looking for the ability to submit a VIP comment, that's the way to do it. www.heyjb.live. And that's enough about interaction. Let's get back to the story. Sarda SD? Man, that's a tough username. No, absolutely no. He had time to come clean. He's tried to pass blame to Kayla. He deserves nothing. He needs the death penalty. He took a precious life of a defenseless child. Well, this is not a capital case. And capital punishment no longer exists in New Hampshire. You know, it's interesting though. So I hadn't looked this up. If this is correct, if I'm looking with New Hampshire death penalty cases. So there was a vote in 2019 to abolish the death penalty in New Hampshire. One of many states to do away with capital punishment. But that it still remains a legal penalty for crimes for before that law was passed. So if you committed a crime before May 30th, but what was the, do we have, is there a, man, I don't, I don't know if in a court of law could they exactly specify a date as to when Harmony was murdered? But even again, this is a second-degree murder case. It's not a capital murder case regardless. It's not going to fall under that statute of law. And so it's off the table. But it is interesting that capital punishment was abolished in 2019 and there's a cutoff date of May 30th. And that is the year that Harmony Montgomery was last seen, I believe around Easter. So it's fascinating, but let's check in on Tim Calorie over at WMUR. No tweets. No new tweets. Somebody else had said that there was another reporter. Who's was it Amy? Why is that ringing a bell? Amy, WMUR. That's not a station I'm familiar with. Here's Amy, WMUR. Oh, no. No account. Nicole says, check out Bob Ward, Boston 25. Okay. Bob Ward, Boston 25. Widely regarded as one of the best crime reporters in New England. Oh, yeah. Let's bring up Bob's latest tweets. Very interesting. Bob. The Adam Montgomery jury had a question that was asked and answered at the bench. The answer was sent to the jury as they deliberate. Question, how does the court define? Yes, consciously disregarded. Okay, tweet 2. The jury has been given a legal definition of the mental state recklessly. You must use the definition provided. You should use your common sense and judgment in considering the ordinary use of the terms within the definition. 3, no additional instruction will be provided. So that's basically what the jury is being told in the deliberation room. The definition of mental state recklessly, and that you must use that definition as provided. And then, in addition, your common sense. There's just the slightest bit of humor there in that. The jury is asking a question on the record as to a particular definition, and part of the response is use your common sense. Common sense and judgment in considering the ordinary use of the terms within the definition. Can you imagine being in the deliberation room and getting the response and it says use your common sense? Here's the definition for recklessly. Also use your common sense. One person's common sense could be nonsense. Common sense isn't a universal thing amongst a group of people. Someone who might say, this makes sense to me. And then somebody else may look at you and be like, well, I have no idea what you're talking about. This doesn't make sense. So common sense in a room full of 12 people. But that's the response that was provided. Okay. 1 minute ago, Bob Ward. Verdict is in. Look at this. Whoever's shot me, Bob Ward. Yeah, shout out, Boston 25. First I'm seeing of it. Verdict in the Adam Montgomery trial. All right, we got a brace for verdict coverage. Stand by. Live from the Stream Center. A verdict reached, according to reporters in Boston, Massachusetts, covering the trial out of New Hampshire and the trial of Adam Montgomery. Stand by.
WFLA Now will begin momentarily. WFLA Now will begin momentarily. Live from the Stream Center, breaking news on WFLA Now. Here's JD Buno.
According to multiple reports out of New Hampshire, a jury has reached a verdict in the Adam Montgomery murder trial. Adam Montgomery accused of murdering his 5-year-old daughter, Harmony Montgomery, back in 2019. We're live across all platforms here on WFLA Now. Welcome into the Stream Center, folks. This stream coming from a courtroom in New Hampshire, where, again, a jury, according to multiple reports, has reached a verdict. That verdict will be read here momentarily. You can see that activity has picked up in the courtroom. This is believed to be Crystal Sorey, the mother of Harmony Montgomery. Harmony Montgomery was the subject of a missing person alert coverage that went national and international, viral across the internet, because when she was reported missing in 2021, she was last seen back in 2019. After a thorough investigation that followed, it was determined that the person that had custody of Harmony Montgomery, her father, Adam Montgomery, was responsible for the murder. He has faced now a total of 5 charges in this trial, including second-degree murder, and the jury has now reached a verdict on those charges. That verdict is about to be read here live in New Hampshire. You can see that emotions clearly running high in the courtroom, and we will, of course, be listening in. And as a reminder, here in the Stream Center, when we have a verdict that is being read, we have audio pumped through. So the moment that the pool camera feed turns on audio, I will hear it, you will hear it, we'll all hear it together. I will, of course, mute my microphone. We go full screen to the verdict, and we listen in live. But as we currently do not have any courtroom audio coming in, they haven't pumped it through yet. That means that, of course, that they are still preparing for the verdict to be read in the courtroom. It's an opportunity for us to say hello and let you know what the very latest is here live from New Hampshire. So you see it there across the bottom of your screen. Breaking news, verdict reached in the Adam Montgomery murder trial. Adam Montgomery is in prison and has not been present over the course of this trial. They have zoomed in several times. The pool camera feed has zoomed in several times to show the empty chair on the defendant's side of the room. And he is choosing to not be present for a reason, of course, that really that's for Adam Montgomery. But we have not seen him. He has not testified in his own defense. He has not heard himself in the courtroom any of the testimony that has been presented over the course of this trial, any of the evidence that has been put forth. Harmony Montgomery, as we noted earlier, had a brutal life, one where due to, of course, circumstances, she was in the custody of her father, who according to testimony over the course of this trial and according to investigators, was abusive towards Harmony. And the allegation is that Adam Montgomery beat his daughter to death and then moved the remains from place to place, including inside of a cooler, including inside of in a ceiling, in a workplace freezer. But where exactly the remains wound up remains unclear to this day. What was the end result for Harmony Montgomery has not ever been disclosed. Now, we're zooming in here on some different members of those individuals that are there in person. Again, this is without a doubt Crystal Sorey, Harmony's mother. You can see quite emotional, to say the least, as she, and you know what, we'll go full screen here. We can zoom in. And yes, what they are looking at there on the phone is they're saying the pool camera is zoomed in on you, Crystal. That's basically what they were looking at. So we are awaiting a verdict. Adam Montgomery is not present in the courtroom. He has not been present over the course of the trial. The judge has not yet come into the room. Prosecutors for the state, not yet seated. You can see the defense attorney there on the left side of your screen. That is Caroline Smith, defense attorney, who has been given the difficult task, I would imagine, as trying to present a defense for Adam Montgomery. And I say it's likely a difficult task because him disposing of the remains is undisputed. Him transporting the remains is undisputed. And they are not contesting the two lesser charges that have been presented in this case, which is abuse of a corpse and falsifying physical evidence. There was key testimony heard over the course of this trial, including from Kayla Montgomery, the estranged wife of Adam, who says that she was present for a lot of the abuse suffered at the hands of Adam Montgomery. Says that she was afraid of Adam Montgomery and was there, including in December of 2019 when Kayla says Adam punched Harmony at several stoplights as they drove from one place to the other with the other kids, the couple's two young sons, also present. They had been evicted and were living in their car. Harmony repeatedly punched in the head, Kayla says, because she had had a bathroom accident. There has been an outpouring of support for Harmony's family and extremely loud cries for justice for Harmony, a girl who we didn't even know her name. The world at large didn't even know she existed until nearly 2 years after she had been killed. In today's world, child goes missing. It's usually, with the way that the internet works, it's usually widespread across the internet within hours. This young girl, 5 years old, was missing for nearly 2 years, and no one said a peep. People have been saying in our comment section, was there where did our system fail? How can society improve to ensure that a young, sweet, innocent girl can't just go missing for years? That shouldn't be allowed. That can't happen. And as we now know, Harmony Montgomery's life was absolutely excruciating, and it was as a result of course, what her life was like with whom had custody of her. So again, that's all according to the testimony that has been put forth at trial. We are here live, and now we are seeing that more and more people are filing into the courtroom. We now have the state back in the courtroom. They have, without question, been told that a verdict has been reached. So we now have the attorneys for the state, the attorneys for the defense in position, now just awaiting the judge who will call the jury into the room and read the verdict aloud. We still do not have any audio. I have the audio at full blast, so the moment that audio comes in, we'll be able to hear together. But of course, strict pool camera rules dictate when audio can be transmitted out of the courtroom and when it shouldn't be. Adam Montgomery electing not to be present. as the verdict is being read.
Be seated.
Audio coming through. Let's listen in.
Ron? Yeah, he's being, did you call for them? Yes.
We'd hear from Bob Ward,
All
Boston
rise for the
25.
jurors, please.
Adam Montgomery himself will not be in the courtroom when the jury announces the verdict in the murder trial. He refused a ride to court, and he remains at Concord State Prison. Jury being let into the room. Again, let's listen in live.
You may be seated.
Would the foreperson please rise? Mr. Foreperson, it's the court's understanding that the jury has reached a verdict in this matter.
That's correct.
As to charge ID 193-7947C, charging the defendant, Adam Montgomery, with the crime of second-degree assault, do you find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
You say that he's guilty, Mr. Foreperson?
That is correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yes.
As to charge ID 202-7112C, charging the defendant, Adam Montgomery, with the crime of second-degree murder, do you find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
You say that he's guilty, Mr. Foreperson?
That is correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yes.
And as to charge ID 202-7113C, charging the defendant with the crime of falsifying physical evidence, do you find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
You say that he's guilty, Mr. Foreperson?
That is correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yes.
And on charge ID 202-7114C, charging the defendant, Adam Montgomery, with the crime of abuse of corpse, do you find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
You say that he's guilty, Mr. Foreperson.
That's correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yes.
And on charge ID 202-7115C, charging the defendant, Adam Montgomery, with the crime of tampering with witnesses and informants, do you find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
You say that he's guilty, Mr. Foreperson.
That's correct.
So say you all, ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your service. You've performed an important civic duty, and that is as to the alternates as well as all the deliberating jurors. What we're going to do now is I'm going to send you back into the deliberation room. The alternates are going to be able to go back now with you. You can discuss the case with each other, so it's an opportunity for you to do that. I'm going to take a few minutes with the lawyers here, and then I will come in to discuss a couple of other matters with you further, and then you'll be released from your service. All right? Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. All rise for the jurors, please.
Adam Montgomery convicted on all counts, including first-degree murder of his 5-year-old daughter, Harmony Montgomery. There in the bottom left-hand portion of your screen, wearing pink crystal sword.
All right, ladies and
Harmony's
gentlemen,
mother.
you may be seated. Counsel, we just need to schedule sentencing. I don't know how much time the parties feel that they need.
We'll say we are scheduled here on Thursday, the 7th of March.
will both sides be prepared? Actually, I don't know what the court may not have sufficient time that day, so let me just look. No, I'm actually going to be in trial that day. I have a docket in the morning, but I'm in trial after. It may be that maybe we could just get some time frame. Let me look to the state first about how long do you need to be prepared? And I'll have,
We may need to at least go a little bit of time beyond that. I would say, sorry, I'm just looking at my calendar as well.
better not to give me a date, just tell me about how far out and about how much time you think you'll need.
I think, Your Honor, we're going to need roughly 4 weeks, so somewhere around the last week of March, first week of April.
So sometime after April 1st. I know I'm going into a lengthy trial in April, so we'll see what we can do. About how long a hearing do you feel that you'll need?
Based upon my best estimate, Your Honor, is probably at least half the day, so at least a solid 3 hours. Would be the safest time period to go, and if we use less of it, we use less.
Okay, just knowing what the court's docket is, and then I know I have a 3-week trial also in April, it may not be possible to get it in that month, but we'll do it as quickly thereafter as we can, as long as that's sufficient for the defense.
Putting us into May, certainly plenty of time.
Okay, if there are other constraints, please let the court know. Otherwise, we'll schedule it as the docket permits in sometime after April 1st. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
Okay.
We have jury trials to work around, but smaller.
Okay. All right, I'm not inclined, I know the parties are preparing sentencing memos. I'm not inclined for a PSI unless somebody feels that one would be needed. No? Okay, very good. Sentencing memos, any sentencing memos should be in, I would say, given the time frame, if you can sentencing memos in 10 days in advance, that would be helpful to the court. That will give time for the court to consider any information, ample time to consider any information the court needs to consider. Anything else we need to accomplish today?
I think, Your Honor, just from the state's perspective, when we do have the sentencing date and we're getting closer, the state will ask under RSA 651:4-A that the defendant, whether he likes it or not, have to be transported here for the sentencing pursuant to that statutory authority.
Okay. If you're going to file something, did you say?
File that, Your Honor.
Okay.
There's very clear statute on it, there's case law on it. We will provide that to the court ahead of time and do that in plenty of time so that the defense can respond to that before we get anywhere near that 10-day mark ahead of the hearing.
Okay. Anything else the defense wants to raise?
Not at this time, thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right.
As they mute the courtroom feed, you can see attorneys beginning to file out. One side, I'm sure, satisfied with the verdict. The other side, disappointed. However, again, Adam Montgomery convicted on all charges of murdering his daughter, Harmony. There you can see Manchester Police present in the courtroom as well. I'm sure many of the investigators who worked on this case. I'm looking here for Crystal Sorey, who was seated, of course, on the state side of the room, and not sure if she filed out beforehand because I have not seen her. She was wearing pink. We're going to get to your reaction, especially after a verdict is rendered. What we like to do is we like to spotlight as many comments from our live audience to give everybody the opportunity for their voice to be heard, but you're clearly looking at elation, relief. Oh, and now, the feed is now being switched automatically. That's actually very, as somebody who does streaming for a living and not having to bounce around from feed to feed, this is extremely handy. So shout out to NBC Boston for switching the feed for us. This is now the exterior shot where we'll be able to hear. Here's Crystal.
But this is the most we got right now, so I'm grateful.
Crystal, what was it like to be in the courtroom and to hear those words, guilty, on all the charges?
It was a relief, because I think for a second I thought he was going to get away with something, but he didn't get away with anything. So
you were here most days
Yeah.
of this trial. I guess, was there anything that stuck out to you? How hard was it for you to hear some of these awful details?
I've heard it so much over the last 4 years. It just was a lot different hearing it from their mouths than reading it, you know. It was very hard, you know, but I have to stay strong for my boys. I'm going on 5 years clean, and I'm proud, very proud of that, you know, and this didn't impact that in any way. I know people thought that, but it didn't, and this can only make me stronger from here on out. I'm her voice. I'm the person that's going to carry her on besides my loved ones, carry her memory, and make sure that no one ever forgets about her.
Crystal,
Any
I'm
reaction
here.
to
Do
the-
you believe the version of events that they said happened in the courtroom? Do you believe that's what happened to your daughter?
What the defense said?
What the prosecutors said?
Yes.
Kayla said.
Yes.
Crystal,
I
can you
know that.
just talk
Your
about
strength
the
for all
fact
this.
that, you know, Adam wasn't in the courtroom even on the day that they delivered the verdict. What is your reaction that he wasn't here today to hear those words and sit there and listen to that guilty verdict?
He's a coward. He's a coward. He's always been a coward. Hence why he did what he did. He took away from the people that loved her because he couldn't hack that he didn't have control. That's all he cared about, was control of everything in his life. She wasn't anything to him.
Crystal, what's next?
A lot. I just can't say yet.
Crystal,
Do you
what
plan
are
to
your
be
thoughts
there
of
for
Harmony
sentencing?
right now as this verdict comes down?
She's here with me. And she is the one that keeps me strong every day.
He was held accountable today. Is there other people that should be held accountable for what happened, including the state of Massachusetts, the state of New Hampshire?
I won't talk about that.
Will you be there for sentencing and give an impact statement? He is supposed to be there for sentencing. Are you looking forward to seeing him and maybe confronting him?
Yes, I'll be there. And I'll be looking him in the face while I say my impact statement, because he can't get away from that. He has to be there. So he has to listen.
After all is said and done, would you say justice has been served for your daughter?
We're almost there.
Crystal,
We're almost there.
Crystal, they mentioned that in closing, that your daughter was robbed of dignity, she was robbed of peace, and she was robbed of a tombstone, a place to go. She's still out there somewhere. How important is that part of this? It's not over for you.
That's still a huge part of it. It's not over. It's not going to be over until she's found, and we are still looking. The police, we as a family, we are still looking.
And Crystal, your message to everyone that has really been impacted and touched by this case?
I just want to thank everybody for the love and the support, and for the people that believed in me and reached out to me this whole time and never doubted me. The people that know me have known my whole life. They know how much I loved my daughter. They know how much I fought for her, and I did everything I could. And when I didn't have anything left, I still tried. So for the people that doubted me, they don't matter to me. They're not a thought in my mind.
Do you have a message for Adam today if he's listening to any of this or heard the verdict? What would you say to him today?
That I hope that what he did plays over in his mind every single waking moment that he lives on this earth. And I hope that he never falls asleep without seeing her beautiful face.
Did you think this day would come? I mean, you struggled with this, you couldn't find her. Did you ever think that this day would come? And
I
now-
knew it would, because that's why I did all that I did, so that it would.
Did you give you any solace at all?
A little bit of peace, but she's still out there, so that's what I think about every day.
What are your thoughts on all the work police have done already and continue to do?
Oh, the police have been amazing. They still reach out to me and tell me all of the, they're doing, and they all showed up here today to be there for her. That meant a lot to me.
Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you.
I have
Thank you so much.
you guys. Thank you.
Your sweatshirt?
Oh, yeah.
Showing some of the cameras.
Yeah. Yes. She is no longer Harmony Montgomery. Her name is Harmony Renee. She is not a Montgomery.
Is that her middle?
Yes. My same middle name.
Is that what you called her?
Yep.
Do you go by?
I go to Union Street every time I'm out here.
You do?
Yeah.
But you're big.
Yeah, I'm an asshole. I'm ready. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Please set it all in court.
Can you tell us how was your client doing? Did he
Please set it all.
Can you just repeat your feelings or your reaction to the verdict? Did the jury get it right?
We set it all in court. Thank
What
you.
would that be?
Caroline, how's your client doing?
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to talk to him? What's he
A lot
saying
of
here?
people are wondering why Adam didn't show up in court for this trial. Why didn't he show up in court?
Everything we had to say, we said in court. Thank you.
Will you appeal the verdict? Will you appeal the verdict? That's fine.
We don't do press conferences, so it's fine. He was sticking his camera in my big phone in my shot. I told him it's on TV. And I'm like, dude, did the rinky dink camera on my fucking shot? All right. Yeah, I'm fine. What happened?
As someone who's been outside court hearing some of that chatter there back and forth, that of course, getting in position for an interview is a lot of maneuvering that goes on with members of the media to get in position, make sure that they have their interviews. But bottom line is, hear from Crystal Sorey talking about how, she called Adam Montgomery a coward for not being there because he wasn't in control of the situation, saying that this is a step towards justice for her daughter, Harmony, who she now calls Harmony Renee, or on the back of her sweater, Mookie Butt, because that's what she would call her, she says. So, yeah, Harmony, Renee, the daughter of Crystal Sorey, who you just heard from there on stream, and we're now awaiting likely the state. That's really the last group we could hear from. I wonder if Manchester police would say anything today, given everything that they poured into finding Harmony and finding who was responsible for her murder. The investigation, of course, was one that brought national and international attention to New Hampshire. So, because again, the lingering unanswered question in this story is, where's Harmony? Her remains were never found, despite the fact that we now have a conviction and we have known for a long time that Harmony was, her remains were transferred from place to place, a place where no human remains should ever be, inside of a cooler and inside of a ceiling, all of these places that just make your heart drop. We still don't know exactly where she wound up. And so you can hear it in Crystal's voice that is still something that they intend to pursue and hopefully to provide some sort of answer to that question. But so we're likely going to hear from the state. You saw there Caroline Smith, who said everything that we had to say, we said in court. That was in essence the crux of her statement. She didn't want to speak any further in regards to her defense of Adam Montgomery. Was we noted earlier, you're not going to find many sympathetic comments for Adam Montgomery in our live comment section. I can assure you elsewhere on the internet. This is somebody who has now been convicted of murdering his 5-year-old daughter by beating her to death and then just moving her remains from place to place like a discarded item that he was just waiting to get rid of. A despicable and terrible thing that had occurred to a innocent 5-year-old girl, and now Adam Montgomery undoubtedly will remain in prison for the rest of his life. People asking in the comment section, of course, the first question after a conviction is, what could a sentence look like? I was doing a little bit of homework today as to if it was convicted on all counts, starting with the charge of second-degree murder in New Hampshire, in that state. What could it look like? Common sentences range from 30 to 40 years in prison, but that can be extended to life in prison without the possibility of parole, and in certain extreme cases. And so now it looks like we have lost the feed. If that feed comes back, I'll keep an eye here on my grid and see if we get any more press conference. They might be swapping batteries on that pack. That's probably why we lost the feed, but because they did have a press conference location set up. 30 to 40 years is a common sentence for second-degree murder in New Hampshire, apparently, from what I was able to dig up. And but it can be up to life in prison. You have to remember, Adam Montgomery's already serving 30 years on an unrelated gun charge. So he's 34, if I have that right. I believe he's in his mid-30s. So you're talking about somebody who, before the murder of his daughter, was looking at spending the next several decades in prison. This is a man who, outside of some earth-shattering appeal, is going to spend the rest of his life in jail, in prison, in New Hampshire. And I'm curious to know from you, our audience, how everybody feels about that conclusion to this story, if that is ultimately the conclusion on this story. You can use, again, the big thing that we try to do on live stream. It's really important to us and important to our functions here in the Stream Center, and really our mission statement, if you will, is to spotlight your comments. People have been invested in this story for a long time, really since word got out that she had been missing at that press conference, as these pictures circulated around the internet. So interactively, how this works, there are two ways to get your comment on screen. We want to spotlight as many. It can be a question. If you just want to pass along a heartfelt message here on the live stream to Harmony Renee's memory, or if you want to pass along a message to Crystal Sori, if you want to point out something, an observation, a question, any comment that you want on screen, there's two ways to do it. You can submit a comment on YouTube Live or Facebook Live using hashtag HeyJB. That's how it gets beamed to my screen here in the Stream Center and I can grab it. Or if you want to submit a VIP comment so that it doesn't just scroll up on my screen into non-existence and it sticks on my screen, you can go to www.heyjb.live and submit a VIP comment there. No sign up or anything required. It's just a simple form for you to submit a comment there. So I've got all of those comments activated, and we'll start looking for them now. Let's see. Letting people type in their comment. I see a lot of comments, but again, it's got to follow one of the two rules. It's got to be submitted to www.heyjb.live, or it has to have hashtag HeyJB in the comment, and then I can spotlight it on screen. That's basically you saying we consent to my comment being used on the live stream. Mysterious says, so glad that Harmony is getting justice. There were so many people who failed her. Rest easy, sweet girl. Somebody says that there was that there's another press conference elsewhere. I don't have access to that in the feeds. If that changes, I'll let you know. I'll go to it immediately. They're scrolling in fast. Everybody give me a moment here to look. DMA says this is why we should all say something if we see something. Yeah, but Kayla Montgomery says that she was afraid. Adam Montgomery is responsible. Those are the two people that are really. Now, look, there was Kevin Montgomery. There were other people that were aware of what Harmony's life was like. And yes, you could make the argument yes, you should say something, but this is a complicated case. It was a complicated case where Harmony, by all accounts, was as we understood her life, it was very sheltered within Adam's custody when he was granted custody of Harmony. And so but you know what, this statement rings so true that even though it was a complex story with a lot of unique elements such as the pandemic, you're absolutely right. If you notice something that isn't right, and it just gives you that feeling, yeah, if it rises to that level where you think something is really wrong, yeah, you do. You try to say something. Ashley, do you think Adam Montgomery will be in jail for killing an innocent little girl? Oh, yes. And that reputation sticks with you. Adam Montgomery will be known in prison as somebody who murdered his own daughter at the age of 5. Mary Ellen, Kayla should be charged as an accomplice. Watching it all. Any word on this? Well, she's already facing charges related to this case for, in essence, being dishonest with investigators and her story just not adding up, so to speak. So will there be any charges? Will there be any future charges against Kayla? That remains to be seen. She's not facing a 30-year prison sentence. She's facing an 18-month prison sentence. So she will be out. She will be out by the end of next year. And I don't know if there's even a parole possibility on that 18-month sentence, but here's a VIP comment. Linda says, will the people that released Harmony to Adam face any type of discipline? It was a failure on their part also. I remember talking about this story, and we examined this question, Linda, a little bit more closely. And I remember there being a much larger conversation. Will there be any type of discipline for whomever assigned custody to Adam? I'm going to be honest, I'm not prepared to answer that question. Because so much has transpired since Harmony was the subject of the missing person alert, and there was a lot that went into, of course, how she wound up missing and how she wound up in the custody of her father there. But I do remember there being a much larger conversation just about how the system, how a crack in the system was large enough for a young girl to slip through those cracks and into the custody of somebody who would ultimately take her life. Caitlin, did the defense say that they will be appealing Adam being present for sentencing? I'll have to check on that. How the appeals process looks going forward, I'm not sure. You have to wonder how much Adam cares at this point. Really think about it. He didn't even show up to his own verdict being read. So does he care enough to appeal? If he clearly doesn't prioritize being in court for his own verdict in the murder trial for his daughter, then is he going to care enough to inquire as to launching an appeal? Barry, oh, did I get that one? Yeah. Clicking these comments is a game for me. It's almost like a video game because I'm trying to click on a comment that is actively moving on my screen. He didn't show up because he wasn't in control of the narrative. That's what Crystal Sori said. Yes, Barry. VIP comment from Susan. Let us all embrace harmony, Renee. Embracing harmony in 5 ways. Practice empathy and compassion. One of the most important ways to be peaceful towards others is to put yourself in their shoes. Cultivate forgiveness. Practice active listening. Cultivate patience. Practice gratitude. Jenna says, and this is again according to one of our commenters, Jenna says parole for Kayla is possible as early as this coming May. She had extensive agreement with the state. There will be no consequences for the judge in Massachusetts. He has since retired, says Jenna. Andrea, your comment is so large that it kind of gets cut off here to not block the entirety of the screen, but I'll read it. Hashtag HJB. I've been watching from the very beginning with the news conference, looking for her to just now on all guilty. He deserves the max as far as I'm concerned, just my opinion. Now hoping, picking it up here, now hoping they can find where she is so her mother and family can have more closure. I have cried the whole case, let alone sick to my stomach. Knowing Harmony got justice is the best. God bless her little beautiful soul, praying for her loving mom and brothers. Andrea, thanks for the comment. Zelzane says defendant shall be present under sentencing according to a particular statute of law. That's interesting. Again, more to now that we've entered into the sentencing phase of this, there's more to examine here. But bottom line is, folks, this man is going to remain in prison for the rest of his life. It's fact. I'm reading comments and they're moving so fast that I'm not even able to finish reading them. Sandy Rodriguez, hashtag HJB. Why would he not tell where her body is? I don't like to look. I'll provide context to this question without speculating. A reason as to why somebody might not want to give up, why a murderer would not want to tell authorities where the body is, for a couple of different reasons. One, holding out hope that establishing that leverage provides an opportunity, or it proves to be advantageous later on down the road legally. It's a card in your back pocket. It's basically all you have left. It's the one thing that you have that is of value. You're in prison for basically the rest of your life. That's basically what you are facing. And the one thing you have of value to your name is a secret. Murderers do not like to give up that secret easily. They don't want to give it up for their own reasons, but oftentimes that reason is because they want something in exchange or they want something of value in return. That could be years shaved off of a prison sentence. That could be cushier confines within prison, certain things in prison. It really depends on the state and on the nature of a potential deal. But another reason why somebody would not why a murderer would not indicate where a body is because the remains will tell a story as to what happened to that victim. And a murderer might not want the entirety of that story told. There could be more to the murder that occurred that you do not want investigators to find out about. And then the last reason as to why perhaps a murderer would not want to reveal the location of the remains of a victim or victims is simple. Just pure evil. And not wanting authorities or any other family members to have the satisfaction. Perhaps out of spite, reason of spite for somebody that is connected to the story, connected to the crime that had occurred. But just sometimes there is no real true rhyme or reason. It is just, you can just chalk it up to somebody just being pure evil, in essence. Control, as one of our commenters said. Devin sums it up. You want to know the synopsis of this live stream? It's right there. Guilty, 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 guilty. You know, that's excellent question, boy mama. Times 3. Wow, got 3 kids. It sounds like you got 3 boys at home. That's a handful. Saying, I wonder if he's watched the whole trial from a private cell. Was he allowed to watch the trial from a private cell? I feel like that's a detail that would have been communicated to the public. Adam Montgomery elects not to be present, chooses to watch from prison instead. But to be able to, for the state to give him the ability to watch it and not be present for it, that would strike me as odd, and not impossible, but kind of odd. Because if he's finding it on, like, where are they going to get the feed? YouTube? And then before you know it, he's watching YouTube videos? Now, obviously, it could be in a controlled environment. I get that. Yeah, Carla, yes, that we discussed this option earlier, or there was no body left. Perhaps. But the information is still valuable, though, Carla, because even if the remains were no longer, if they were obliterated, if there were no remains left, disclosing to Crystal there and explaining her daughter's final resting place and what actually happened to the remains and where Harmony wound up, even if there's nothing left, that likely still has some value to the family to know, to put down flowers, to be able to, pay respects at that location if you choose to. We're wrapping up at 2:00 Eastern, so another 5 or so minutes. Last call for questions and comments. Let's look for any VIP comments. I'm not seeing too many. Oh, what was this one? Terry, Adam Montgomery isn't saying where Harmony is because he wants control of the situation. That was clearly described by Crystal in the interview. Oregon chick talking about how there was another case, it's scrolling so fast, where she would have been able to watch from a private room or cell. Was Adam able to not participate? Look, he wasn't there. I mean, look, it's standard to, I think that they're, hold on a second, they're feeding back. Stand by.
Those words, guilty on all the charges.
It was a relief, because I think for a second I thought he was going to get away with something, but he didn't get away with anything.
This is a refeed out of New Hampshire. We can listen.
Was there anything that stuck out to you? How hard was it for you to hear some of these awful details?
I've heard it so much over the last 4 years. It just was a lot different hearing it from their mouths than reading it, It was very hard, but I have to stay strong for my boys. I'm going on 5 years clean, and I'm proud, very proud of that, and this didn't impact that in any way. I know people thought that, but it didn't, and this can only make me stronger from here on out. I'm her voice. I'm the person that's going to carry her on besides my loved ones, carry her memory and make sure that no one ever forgets about her.
Crystal, I'm sure it's hard to hear. Do you believe the version of events that they said happened in the courtroom? Do you believe that's what happened to your daughter?
What the defense said?
What the prosecutor said?
Yes.
Kayla said?
Yes.
Crystal,
I believe that.
Crystal, can you just talk about the fact that, Adam wasn't in the courtroom even on the day that they delivered the verdict? What is your reaction that he wasn't here today to hear those words and sit there and listen to that guilty verdict?
He's a coward. He's a coward. He's always been a coward. Hence why he did what he did. He took away from the people that loved her because he couldn't hack that he didn't have control. That's all he cared about, was control of everything in his life. She wasn't anything to him.
Crystal, what's next?
A lot. I just can't say yet.
Crystal,
Do you
what
plan
are
to
your
be
thoughts
there
of
for
Harmony
sentencing?
right now as this verdict comes down?
She's here with me. And she is the one that keeps me strong every day.
He was held accountable today. Is there other people that should be held accountable for what happened, including the state of Massachusetts, the state of New Hampshire?
I won't talk about that.
Will you be there for sentencing and give an impact statement? He is supposed to be there for sentencing. Are you looking forward to seeing him and maybe confronting him?
Yes, I'll be there. And I'll be looking him in the face while I say my impact statement. Because he can't get away from that. He has to be there. He has to listen.
After all is said and done, would you say justice has been served for your daughter?
We're almost there.
Crystal,
We're almost there.
Crystal, they mentioned that in closing, that your daughter was robbed of dignity, she was robbed of peace, and she was robbed of a tombstone, a place to go. She's still out there somewhere. How important is that part of this? It's not over for you.
That's still a huge part of it. It's not over. It's not going to be over until she's found, and we are still looking. The police, we as a family, we are still looking.
And Crystal, your message to everyone that has really been impacted and touched by this case?
I just want to thank everybody for the love and the support, and for the people that believed in me and reached out to me this whole time and never doubted me. The people that know me have known my whole life. They know how much I loved my daughter. They know how much I fought for her, and I did everything I could. And when I didn't have anything left, I still tried. So for the people that doubted me, they don't matter to me. They're not a thought in my mind.
Do you have a message for Adam today if he's listening to any of this or heard the verdict? What would you say to him today?
That I hope that what he did plays over in his mind every single waking moment that he lives on this earth. And I hope that he never falls asleep without seeing her beautiful face.
Did you think this day would come? I mean, you struggled with this, you couldn't find her. Did you ever think that this day would come? And
I
now,
knew it would, because that's why I did all that I did, so that it would.
did he give you any solace at all?
A little bit of peace, but she's still out there, so that's what I think about every day.
What are your thoughts on all the work police have done already and continue to do?
Oh, the police have been amazing. They still reach out to me and tell me all of the, they're doing, and they all showed up here today to be there for her. That meant a lot to me.
Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Thank
Can
you.
we see your sweatshirt?
Oh, yeah.
So hearing that one more time made it more clear. The expectation is that Adam has to be at the sentencing. And so as a result of that, Crystal will see Adam in court when sentencing actually occurs. So that, of course, is an opportunity for people who want to see him stare this process in the face and be in court and have to stand there as the judge renders a sentence of what could be 30, 40 years, or maybe just the rest of his life. People who are seeking that visual and seeking that moment in this story will get it during sentencing. And we'll try to stream that in the future. Really appreciate you joining us here, everybody, on WFLA Now. Really quickly note, I tweeted out during one of the interviews, I tweeted out a new statement from Gabby Petito's family. You can find it there. They are not doing interviews, but they provide some more information in that statement about the foundation, about focusing on family. But that is on my Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it these days. Really appreciate you joining us here, everybody in the Stream Center. For everybody who voted on www.heyjb.live and submitted comments, they were really appreciated. We're doing interactive journalism here in the Stream Center. We appreciate you coming along on that adventure. Thanks so much, folks. Additional live streams as breaking news occurs here from the Stream Center. But for now, from Tampa, Florida, all the best to you. Have a good rest of your day. And we'll see you soon on stream.